Now, with the residents bracing for the major water shutdown, the city is urging them to stock up on water. Now, the shutdown is required to allow for planned maintenance by Rand Water at its Vereeniging plant. Now, to unpack this further, I'm joined by DA Gauteng Spokesperson for Infrastructure Development, Nico De Jager. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Nico. Now, of course, you know, Joburg residents are very concerned about this water cutting for the next few days. What can you tell us? What's your biggest concern about this? And of course, is this a bigger problem perhaps when it comes to the infrastructural issues that the city has?
Well, I think first of all we need to understand what the job being done, what it is, what it entails, and what it is about. This is an isolation valves that they are installing on the existing system. The isolation valves will allow Rand Water to then pump more water to the eNCA system, and the eNCA system, as you know, as residents might know, is the one that takes the most punishment when the system is under strain. This will further allow Rand Water to do additional pipe works going forward. So overall, this is a good project in the long run. It is a concern for the immediate future in the next couple of days. But what we need to also then understand with what's happening, or what will happen, is that the system obviously then will run dry eventually as water is flowing out of these reservoirs, and it will take time to recover. Now, on the side of Rand Water, it will take a couple of days, maybe a day or two, for the reservoirs on their side to recover. But as water flows out of the reservoirs, the Rand Water reservoirs, and into the reservoirs on the side of Joburg Water, those reservoirs will then immediately also be depleted for a period of time. The more water people use, obviously, and especially in the low-lying areas, it will take longer for the higher-lying areas to recover. It is therefore critical that we continue using water sparingly, especially the areas being fed from the eNCA pump station or eNCA reservoir system. To also then just keep in mind that residents in higher lying areas will not have water. What we do need to be cognizant of is that Joburg Water some years ago started with a pressure demand management system, but unfortunately they did not always maintain the pressure valves at the right time, and lack of maintenance, etc. on these valves means that as fast as you recover, and all the gains can then be lost. And this is also due to a lack of skills, a lack of prioritizing of budget, and of course a very stringent procurement process, which should really allow for such emergency work to happen a lot quicker. So there is something that can be done, but at the same time, we need to become more proactive. We need to have more skilled people in the entities. We need to get politicians to understand that when they allocate budget, it should be prioritized on service delivery matters.
Let's talk about load shedding, because since yesterday we've now experienced high levels of load shedding. Will this add, even further pressure on the ongoing issue?
Load shedding, in terms of the National Act, the Rand Water infrastructure is exempt from load shedding, so it should not have such an impact on Rand Water infrastructure, it being a national key point. Now, what happens is those machinery and pumps, etc., at Rand Water reservoirs and plants are highly sensitive to fluctuation in power and power dips, and of course that has an impact on the longevity of these machinery. What we then see on the side of Joburg Water, where they do not have backup power, that is when the system often fails. And this is when we call on Rand Water, as well as on on Joburg Water to ensure that they have backup energy, backup generators in the event of a power failure.
These maintenance and upgrades, it is necessary to do these things. But of course, many people are concerned that, there's a bigger issue at hand here when it comes to infrastructural issues. And of course, load shedding, we just mentioned, does play a big factor when it comes to the ongoing water shortages in Gauteng. Climate change is also one of the factors recently brought up, but also wasteful consumption of water by residents. How do these factors contribute to, the longer plan for water security in this province and Joburg?
I think, if you will allow me, if we can park the issue of climate change for now, because the immediate problem that we have is usage, high usage of water, high volumes of water being wasted. And for that, we need to then look at what we can do. And that is where the pressure demand management comes in. You get special valves that control the pressure, just like piloting your car or putting your car on autopilot, so to speak, or speed control, so you can control these the valves and water flow in the pipes and low use areas to reduce flow, etc. That's one way of reducing burst, and we've seen that being implemented in the past in the Sandton, Bryanston area. In the past, we had it a couple of years ago, but because those things are not being maintained, it resulted in we going back. As I said earlier, we lose all those gains. When it comes to waste, absolutely, we need to have a more skilled organization in Joburg Water in terms of a focus on skill, not just education or piece of paper, but experienced workers, skilled workers to deal with the challenges that we see daily. I also think what will help is if we can get residents to understand the importance of reporting leaks, and especially in areas where you have flat rates, your Soweto areas of Midrand where you have flat rates. And usage there is a lot higher than in areas where people are paying for consumption. And the reason being, it's not always in the interest of the resident to report a leak. So what we've suggested in the past is that Joburg Water have a leak detection teams that go out and focus specifically on those areas to combat leaks. But also we need to measure all our water. The bulk meters are critical, so we can really determine the exact use or usage of water and not just estimates. At this point in time, we often talk about 45% of water, between 45 and 50% of water in the province being wasted. And that is because often water is not measured. So it's a technical, a technical loss, but also the non-technical aspects, and that is where you have the pressure, high pressure, burst, leaks, etc. in the pipelines.
All right, thank you. That's all we have time for this morning. DA Gauteng Spokesperson for Infrastructure Development, Nico De Jager.